We have, we have Nathan's hot dog stand. We have Knishes. We have pizza. You have never eaten pizza. They haven't had such good pizza since Moses, when he received that round white thing the Italians took and put sauce on it and called it pizza. It was called manna in the days of Moses. And I was born there. The tenements like beaten old men. They look out over the city. It's a terrible set. In fact, my tenement was so bad, it was behind all the other tenements. It was stuck out in an old lot. Even my neighborhood was embarrassed by my house. I was born in poverty. And listen to me, it's hard. People say to me all the time, why don't those people get out? Have you ever tried to get out of quicksand? My daddy was one of the hardest working men I've ever known, but he never had much money. They never got paid much. He was always trying to do better. Can't explain to you poverty. In fact, Gandhi said of poverty is the worst kind of violence. And it was violent on me. It beat me. And I hated. And I learned to hate because of you see, hate fostered and festered in my mind, and it came out in violence. I struck back at everything that moved. In that neighborhood, 70% of the kids had police records before 16. In that neighborhood, it wouldn't be strange to walk down the street as I was one day as a little boy, and a man laying in the gutter, newspaper over, wind blew it away, and there was a hatchet in his head. It wasn't strange to see a car pull around the corner, door open, they throw out a dead person on the street. It wasn't strange. It wasn't strange when you understood that. And juvenile crime, I stole my first car. Hotwired stole my first car. I was 14. I was breaking and entering by the time I was 15, mugging by the time I was 16. I entered into the world of the big blame argument. And all my troubles were because of my parents. All my trouble was because of the law. All my trouble was because of my teachers. I blamed everybody but Ron Halverson. This was my world. Coney Island. By the way, Coney Island, there was organized crime, the mafia. But they were called, Murder Incorporated was in Coney Island. For $200, so what? You could have someone murdered in my neighborhood. Life was cheap. This was my world. This was my playground. You ran to survive. You learned to fight to survive. In that ghetto, in that place, my mother was trying to raise 5 boys. 5 boys. And so the 2 types of crime, we used to admire the mafia because we thought, wow, they drove big cars and they had nice $1,000 suits and, they had money. And one of us, you see, you thought maybe we could work our way up and maybe we could be in the mafia. And so that was our dream. But there was unorganized crime, young people. I'm talking about the little people, the violent streets, the teenage gangs. Death waited around every corner, up every alleyway. We were fighting. We had to learn to fight to survive. You had to know how to fight or you would die. My daddy was a prize fighter, professional fighter for, I think it was 8 fights. He won 7 and drew 1. And my mama told him to quit the ring or else, and he didn't want to fight mama, so he quit. And you know how it is with a person when a father, when he wanted to be something he wasn't, so he wants his sons to be. That's why they put little helmets on these little kids and have them running around beating each other's brains out so they might be the super quarterback that dad wanted to be. Well, my dad wanted to be light heavyweight champion of the world, so he looked around. There were 5 boys. I was the biggest when I was born. And so he used to come home from work. We had a big heavy bag in the basement of our tenement, and a light bag, and I would have to hit it. And I was little. I was really little. Started in the Pee Wee League, fighting my way up. I started as a featherweight. Now I'm a super heavyweight. Thought that was funny, huh, preacher? Now I'm a super heavy. But my dad, he had me run so much. Every day I had to run, and I had to hit the heavy bag, hit the light bag. Then I joined the Ocean Avenue Boxing Club, and this was a training center for young fighters that were hopeful of becoming professional fighters. And out of that club in Brooklyn, there came out fighters, great fighters out of that club. Out of the clubs in Brooklyn, the boxing clubs, Floyd Patterson came out of that club. Murray Glazier, great middleweight, came out of it. I mean, great fighters came out. And we thought if we could just fight, why we could learn to fight in the ring, we would be good in the street. Now, the teachers didn't think that. The managers, they thought if we could teach them to fight in the ring, they wouldn't fight in the street. And there I was training 3 hours a night, 5 nights a week to be a prize fighter. You can never succeed in anything you do without working at it. A lot of people say, I want to be a super Christian, and they don't spend 5 minutes a day working at it. How's that going to happen? So there I was boxing and training, and we used to have fights from all the boxing clubs all over New York City would come together, and we would box and would have tournaments, and I want to be in this tournament. And it was interesting because, I kept bugging my manager. He said, well, you're not quite ready. I said, oh, I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I could take out anything. Come on, give me a chance. And so the tournament came. By the way, my ring name was Killer Halverson. Come on, this pretty face. Article from the New York Mirror, New York News. Killer Halverson, Coney Island. First tournament fight. I felt like Paul the Apostle's fighter. I was beating the air, and this guy was beating up on my head. Well, some of you get that by Tuesday. And so I was beating on the air. He was beating up on my head. And first round, I finally found my way to the corner, sat down. My manager stuck his head through the ropes. He was a great optimist. He says, man, you're doing good. The funny thing about it, in our boxing club, we were so poor. We didn't have these fancy robes, bathing suit. And we had one mouthpiece in our club. Well, you got the drift. And so I found her, sat out, you're doing great. I said, hey man, he's in the purple trunks. The boy was from the CYO, Catholic Youth Organization. In fact, just before the bell rang in the first round, he got down in his corner, said a prayer. I knew right away he had something going for him I didn't have going for me. So there was Killer Halverson, round 2. Came out. Boom, boom. I'm beating the air. He's beating up on my head. Finally hit me with a right cross or a left. Doesn't matter. When you're hit, you're hit. Some of you remember. Your legs go one way. Your body goes another way. And there I was, flat on my back. Killer Halverson. 1. They tell me about fast count. I never had a fast count. 2. Finally got to 9, and the bell rang. In those days, when the bell rang at the count of 9, you were saved by the bell. I didn't even want to be saved. Dragged me to the corner. Took out the smelling salts. Then he asked those dumb questions. How many fingers do I have on that hand? 10. What's your name? Who cares? I went out the 3rd round. I knocked him through the ropes. I became a champion light heavyweight. Hey, by the way, I learned a lesson. Listen to me, kids. Listen to me, teenagers. Listen to me, young adults. Listen to me, you older people. When you're knocked down, boom, you're beat up. Your manager, Jesus Christ, will come through the ropes to you. Listen to me. He'll pick you up, take you to his corner, take out the smelling salts, which is the grace of God, and he can revive you. You're not a loser. You can be a winner with Jesus Christ. Can you say amen in this place? You can be a winner.